There's a moment that comes to all of us. A moment when the noise of the world gets so loud that we can't hear our own thoughts. When the expectations of others become so heavy that we forget what we actually want. When the path we're walking feels so foreign that we wonder if we're even heading in the right direction. I remember mine clearly. I was 26, sitting in a coffee shop in Manhattan, staring at my laptop screen. I had everything I thought I wanted. A job that looked impressive on paper, an apartment in the right neighborhood, a social media feed that screamed success. But something was missing. Something fundamental. Something that no amount of external validation could fill. The barista called out someone's name, and for a moment, I wondered if I would even recognize my own name if it were called. Not the name on my business card or my LinkedIn profile, but the name that represented who I truly was beneath all the layers of who I thought I should be. That's when it hit me. I had been living someone else's definition of success, while my own heart had been whispering a completely different story. And maybe, just maybe, you're feeling the same way right now. You see, we live in a world that's obsessed with destinations. Get the degree, land the job, find the relationship, buy the house, reach the goal. And then, we're told, then you'll be happy. Then you'll have meaning. Then your life will finally begin. But here's what nobody tells you about destinations. They're never quite what you expected when you finally arrive. The degree doesn't automatically give you clarity. The job doesn't fulfill you the way you thought it would. The relationship doesn't complete you. The house doesn't make you whole. And the goal, once achieved, just reveals another goal on the horizon. This isn't pessimism. This is liberation. Because once you understand that happiness isn't a destination, you can stop postponing your life and start living it. The ancient Greeks had two words for time, chronos and kairos. Chronos is clock time. Minutes, hours, days, years. The time that moves forward relentlessly. The time we're always racing against. But kairos is something different. Kairos is the moment when time stands still. When you're so present, so alive, so connected to what you're doing that hours feel like minutes, and minutes feel like eternities. When was the last time you experienced kairos? When was the last time you were so absorbed in something that you forgot to check your phone? When you were so engaged that you forgot to worry about what other people thought? When you were so present that the future and the past became irrelevant? That's your heart speaking. That's your true self breaking through the noise. But somewhere along the way, we learned to ignore that voice. We learned that practical was better than passionate. That safe was better than meaningful. That approval from others was more important than approval from ourselves. We learned to ask, what should I do? Instead of, what do I love? We learned to optimize for security instead of significance. And slowly, gradually, without even noticing, we became strangers to ourselves. The entrepreneur Gary Vaynerchuk talks about how most people spend more time planning their 2-week vacation than they do planning their life. But I want to take that further. Most people spend more time choosing what to watch on Netflix than they do listening to their own heart. Most people put more thought into their Instagram caption than they do into their life's purpose. This isn't judgment. This is the human condition. We're all doing the best we can with the information we have. But what if there's better information available? What if the answers you're looking for aren't on Google or in self-help books or in other people's opinions? What if they're already inside you, waiting to be discovered? Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before he invented the light bulb. When a reporter asked him about his failures, he said, "I haven't failed 1,000 times. I've found 1,000 ways that don't work." But here's what most people don't know about Edison. He wasn't just persistent. He was passionate. He wasn't just disciplined. He He was driven by something deeper than external rewards. He was listening to his heart. The same was true for Disney, who was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination and having no good ideas. The same was true for Oprah, who was told she was unfit for television news. The same was true for Steven Spielberg, who was rejected from film school 3 times. What separated these people from everyone else wasn't talent. Though they had that, it wasn't luck. Though that played a part, it was their willingness to listen to their heart, even when the world was telling them they were wrong. But listening to your heart isn't always comfortable. In fact, most of the time, it's terrifying. Because your heart doesn't care about what's safe, or practical, or socially acceptable. Your heart cares about what's true. And truth has a way of disrupting the comfortable lies we tell ourselves. Your heart might tell you that the career you've spent years building isn't actually fulfilling you. Your heart might tell you that the relationship you're in isn't bringing out the best in either of you. Your heart might tell you that the city you're living in doesn't feel like home. Your heart might tell you that the person you've become isn't the person you actually want to be. These realizations can be overwhelming. They can make you question everything. They can make you feel like you're starting over when you thought you had it all figured out. But here's what I've learned. The discomfort of living authentically is nothing compared to the pain of living a life that isn't truly yours. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "The only journey is the one within." But what does that actually mean in practical terms? How do you embark on that journey when you're juggling work and relationships and responsibilities and all the demands of modern life? It starts with creating space. Not necessarily physical space, though that helps, but mental and emotional space, space between stimulus and response, space between what happens to you and how you react to it, space between what the world expects and what you actually want. This space doesn't have to be big. It can be 5 minutes in the morning before you check your phone. It can be a walk around the block without a podcast or music. It can be sitting in your car for a moment before you go into work or come home. It's not about the duration, it's about the intention. In that space, you start to notice things. You notice that your thoughts aren't necessarily true. You notice that your fears are often bigger than your actual problems. You notice that there's a difference between what you think you should want and what you actually want. You notice that there's a voice beneath all the noise. And that voice has been trying to tell you something important, but listening to your heart requires more than just creating space. It requires courage. The courage to disappoint people who have expectations of you. The courage to admit when you've been wrong about something important. The courage to change direction, even when you've already invested time and energy in the wrong path. Maya Angelou said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." But I would add to that, there is no greater tragedy than living someone else's story while your own story remains unwritten. Your story is unique. Your combination of experiences, insights, talents, and perspectives has never existed before and will never exist again. The world needs what you have to offer, but only if you're brave enough to offer it authentically. This doesn't mean you have to quit your job tomorrow or move to another country or make dramatic changes overnight. Authentic living often starts with small adjustments. It starts with paying attention to what energizes you and what drains you. It starts with noticing which conversations light you up and which ones leave you feeling empty. It starts with asking yourself not, "What do I want to do?" but "Who do I want to become?" Because here's the thing about meaning. It's not something you find once and keep forever. It's something you create continuously through your choices, your relationships, your work, your service to others. Meaning isn't a noun, it's a verb. It's not something you have, it's something you do. The psychologist Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps, wrote that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. He discovered that meaning doesn't come from what happens to you. It comes from how you respond to what happens to you. This is both humbling and empowering. Humbling because it means you can't blame your circumstances for your lack of meaning. Empowering because it means you always have the power to create meaning, regardless of your circumstances. But how do you know if you're moving in the right direction? How do you know if you're listening to your heart or just following another distraction? Pay attention to your energy. When you're aligned with your authentic self, even difficult tasks feel energizing. When you're misaligned, even easy tasks feel draining. Your body knows the truth before your mind figures it out. Learn to trust those signals. Pay attention to time. When you're doing what you're meant to do, time either flies by or becomes irrelevant. When you're forcing something that isn't meant for you, every minute feels like an hour. Your relationship with time is a compass pointing toward your true north. Pay attention to your relationships. When you're being authentic, you attract people who appreciate the real you. When you're performing a version of yourself, you attract people who only like that performance. Authentic relationships are deeper, more satisfying, and more sustainable than performative ones. Pay attention to your impact. When you're aligned with your purpose, your work naturally serves others. When you're misaligned, your work primarily serves your ego or your fear. Purpose is always connected to service, even if that service looks different than you expected. The business magnate Andrew Carnegie said, "The man who dies rich dies disgraced." He understood that wealth without purpose is meaningless, but purpose without action is equally meaningless. Your heart might be telling you something beautiful, but if you don't act on it, it remains just a beautiful thought. Action doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be as simple as having a conversation you've been avoiding. It can be signing up for a class that interests you. It can be volunteering for a cause you care about. It can be saying no to something that doesn't align with your values, so you can say yes to something that does. Every small action in alignment with your authentic self is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every time you choose truth over comfort, growth over safety, service over selfishness, you're strengthening the connection to your heart. But let's be honest about something. This journey isn't always inspiring. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes you'll make decisions that other people don't understand. Sometimes you'll make mistakes. Sometimes you'll doubt yourself so much that you'll want to go back to the comfortable numbness of living someone else's dream. That's not failure. That's human. The goal isn't to eliminate doubt or fear or confusion. The goal is to move forward despite them. The goal is to let your heart be louder than your fear. Lincoln failed in business twice and lost 8 elections before becoming president. Ford went bankrupt 5 times before creating the assembly line. Disney's first animation company went bankrupt before he created Mickey Mouse. These weren't obstacles to their success. They were part of their journey toward it. Your setbacks aren't detours from your path. They're part of your path. Your failures aren't evidence that you're not meant to succeed. They're information about what doesn't work, so you can discover what does. Your confusion isn't a problem to be solved immediately. It's a space where clarity can emerge. The mystic poet Rumi wrote, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. But that strange pull doesn't always lead where you expect. Sometimes it leads away from what you thought you wanted toward what you actually need. Sometimes it leads through difficulties you didn't anticipate toward strength you didn't know you had." The heart's intelligence is different from the mind's intelligence. The mind thinks in terms of logic, efficiency, and predictability. The heart thinks in terms of love, meaning, and possibility. The mind asks, how? The heart asks, why? The mind seeks answers. The heart seeks truth. Both are important. But in our culture, we've overvalued the mind and undervalued the heart. We've become brilliant at optimization and terrible at fulfillment. We've become experts at doing things right and beginners at doing the right things. But what if you could integrate both? What if you could use your mind to serve your heart instead of using your heart to justify your mind's decisions? What if you could be both strategic and authentic, both practical and passionate, both smart and soulful? This integration doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, like learning a new language or developing a new skill. At first, it feels awkward and unnatural. You make mistakes. You overthink things. You doubt whether you're doing it right. But gradually, with patience and persistence, it becomes more natural. Eventually, it becomes who you are. The author, Parker Palmer, talks about leading from within. He suggests that the most important leadership happens not in boardrooms or on stages, but in the quiet moments where you decide to honor what your heart is telling you, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you're leading. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you're leading. Every time you choose service over self-interest, you're leading. You're leading yourself toward the person you're meant to become. And in doing so, you give others permission to do the same. This ripple effect is real. When you start living authentically, it challenges and inspires the people around you. When you start following your heart, it reminds others that they have a heart worth following too. When you start creating meaning instead of just seeking happiness, it shows others that meaning is possible for them too. You don't have to be perfect to have an impact. You don't have to have it all figured out to help others figure it out. You don't have to be fearless to be courageous. You just have to be willing to take the next step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. Gandhi said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." But I want to modify that slightly. Be the person your heart is calling you to become. And trust that the world needs exactly that person. The world doesn't need another copy of someone else. The world needs the first you. The world needs your unique perspective, your unique talents, your unique contribution. But you can only give those gifts if you're willing to discover them, develop them, and deliver them authentically. This requires self-compassion. You're going to make mistakes as you learn to listen to your heart. You're going to misinterpret signals sometimes. You're going to take wrong turns. You're going to disappoint people, including yourself. That's not a bug in the system. That's a feature. That's how learning happens. That's how growth happens. That's how wisdom develops. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would treat a good friend who's trying to figure out their life. Encourage yourself the way you would encourage someone you love. Be patient with yourself the way you would be patient with a child who's learning to walk. And remember that listening to your heart doesn't mean following every impulse or emotion. The heart I'm talking about isn't the heart of momentary desires or reactive feelings. It's the heart of your deepest values, your truest self, your highest aspirations. It's the part of you that knows right from wrong, meaning from meaninglessness, love from fear. This heart speaks quietly, so you have to listen carefully. It speaks consistently, so you have to pay attention over time. It speaks truthfully, so you have to be willing to hear things you might not want to hear. It speaks lovingly, so you can trust its guidance even when it's challenging. As we near the end of our time together, I want you to pause for a moment. Right now, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, just pause. Take a deep breath. Put your hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. That rhythm has been with you since before you were born. It will be with you until your last moment on this earth. In between those beats is your entire life, waiting to be lived authentically. What is your heart telling you right now? Not your fears, not your doubts, not your ego, not other people's expectations, but your heart. What is it whispering beneath all the noise? What has it been trying to tell you that you haven't been willing to hear? Maybe it's telling you to forgive someone, including yourself. Maybe it's telling you to take a risk you've been avoiding. Maybe it's telling you to express love you've been holding back. Maybe it's telling you to pursue a dream you've been postponing. Maybe it's telling you to let go of something that's no longer serving you. Maybe it's telling you to step into your power in a way that scares and excites you simultaneously. Whatever it's telling you, trust it. Not blindly, but deeply. Not impulsively, but intentionally. Your heart has been guiding people toward meaning for thousands of years. It knows the way, even when your mind doesn't. The path of listening to your heart isn't easy, but it's worth it. It's not safe, but it's meaningful. It's not guaranteed, but it's authentic. And at the end of your life, you won't regret the chances you took to live truthfully. You'll only regret the chances you didn't take. You have one life, one beautiful, challenging, meaningful, precious life. You can spend it trying to meet other people's expectations, or you can spend it becoming who you're meant to be. You can spend it seeking happiness in external things, or you can spend it creating meaning through authentic living. You can spend it playing it safe, or you can spend it playing for keeps. The choice is yours. It's always been yours. And your heart is ready to guide you toward the choice that will make your life a masterpiece of meaning rather than a collection of compromises. So listen, really listen, and then have the courage to act on what you hear. Your authentic self is waiting. Your meaningful life is waiting. Your heart is waiting, and so is the world. The world is waiting for your unique contribution, your authentic presence, your heartfelt service. The world is waiting for you to stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be real. The world is waiting for you to stop seeking happiness and start creating meaning. If this message resonated with something deep inside you, if it reminded you of something you already knew but had forgotten, if it gave you permission to listen to that quiet voice that's been calling your name, then I've done what I set out to do. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Like this video if it moved you. Subscribe to this channel if you want more conversations about living authentically in a world that often rewards performance over presence. But most importantly, take action. Take one small, brave step toward the person your heart is calling you to become. Because meaning isn't found in videos or books or other people's wisdom. Meaning is created in the choices you make, the risks you take, the love you give, and the truth you live. Your heart is calling. The question isn't whether you can hear it. The question is whether you'll have the courage to answer